lots of advantages to shopping online, but one of the most compelling ones is how much time you can save. Time is the most precious commodity in the late 20th century, and the fact that you don't have to drive, park, do all those things that make life complicated when you go shopping in the physical world is a huge advantage of online shopping. This is the first office of Amazon.com Inc. What makes us different is vast selection, convenience, we deliver right to the desktop, and also the fact that we're the broadest discounters in the world. We discount over 300,000 titles, basically the best-selling titles. And those are, that's twice as many titles as the largest physical bookstore even offers.
Well, 3 years ago, I was in New York City working for a quantitative hedge fund when I came across the startling statistic that web usage was growing at 2,300% a year. So I decided I would try and find a business plan that made sense in the context of that growth. When I saw this, I said, okay, what's a business plan that might make sense in the context of that growth? I made a list of 20 different products that you might be able to sell online. I was looking for the first best product, and I chose books.
I believe that it's very easy to predict that there are going to be lots of successful companies born of the internet. They're going to have very large market caps and so on. I also believe that today, where we sit, it's very hard to predict who those companies are going to be. We want to be Earth's most customer-centric company. So we're trying to build a completely new standard, raise the bar worldwide on what it means to be focused on customers and obsessed over customers. That's our mission. The wake-up call was finding this startling statistic that web usage in the spring of 1994 was growing at 2,300% a year. Things just don't grow that fast. It's highly unusual. And that set me about thinking what kind of business plan might make sense in the context of that growth. A lot of people installing 802.11 networks in their home. And it completely changes your behavior when you get 2 or 3 or 4 computers in your house instead of sort of one in the office or one in the bedroom or whatever it is. So when you look at your average household, you're going to start to see that the number of computers, just like with phones, there was a time when people said, why would anybody ever have 2 phones in their house? That's sort of ridiculous. When you think about resilience in technology, it's actually much easier. You're going to see some other speakers today, I already know, who are going to talk about breaking bones stuff. And of course, with technology, it never is. So it's very easy, and comparatively speaking, to be resilient. I want to talk a little bit about how we think about innovation at Amazon.com and give you a couple of examples from the world. This is the wiffle ball. And the guy, his name is David Nelson Mulaney. And in 1953, he took a Coty perfume package, and out of frustration because his son had broken a window with a regular baseball, and created the wiffle ball. His son named it. I know over some time horizon, for sure, books will be read on electronic devices. The vast majority will. Physical books won't completely go away, just as horses haven't completely gone away. My name is Jeff Bezos. I studied electrical engineering and computer science, graduated in 1986 from Princeton. And my current job, I'm the founder and CEO of Amazon.com. The Kindle is a wireless electronic reader. We started working on it more than 3 years ago now, more than probably almost 5 years ago now. My name is Jeff Bezos. I started Amazon.com about 15 years ago. Tons of stories from the early days. We started the company in my house. We didn't have enough electric power in the house at a certain point. We only had about 4 employees then, but we already had enough computers and computer servers that we had to string these big orange electric extension cords from every room in the house to get enough power into the room where the office was. So we were basically, all the circuit breakers were flipping. We couldn't plug a vacuum cleaner in anywhere without flipping all the circuit breakers. So we finally had to move to a real office. Well, my background was in computers, but books were the first best product to sell online. As a happy coincidence, I've always been a big reader, but that wasn't the reason that we chose books. My real passion was computers. And that's how I was involved in this world of the web back in '94. The thing that's unusual about AWS is that how much compute you need is elastic. So you can have 5,000 servers for an hour and then return them. And so that's really good for companies that are going to have difficulty forecasting how much compute they need. The riskiest moment for Amazon, Charlie, was at the very, very beginning. I needed to raise $1 million at a certain point. And I ended up giving away 20% of the company for $1 million.
It's a hell of a deal for somebody.
A lot of people did very well on that deal. But they also took a risk, so they deserved to do very well on that deal. But I had to take 60 meetings to raise $1 million, and I raised it from 22 people at approximately $50,000 a person. And it was nip and tuck whether I was going to be able to raise that money. So the whole thing could have ended before it even started. That was 1995, and the first question every investor asked me was, what's the internet? Well, I think if you look at the big ideas at Amazon, what we're really focused on is thinking long term, putting the customer at the center of our universe, and inventing. Those are the three big ideas, and they work well together. I don't think that you can invent on behalf of customers unless you're willing to think long term, because a lot of invention doesn't work. If you're going to invent, it means you're going to experiment, and if you're going to experiment, it means you're going to fail, and if you're going to fail, you have to think long term.
Mr. Bezos.
Yeah.
We're doing cross-border financial news media, early growth markets, Middle East, North Africa, and African-American business. So your acquisition of the Washington Post, this is not a charity buy, but...
We have to run, but let me give you a card. Why don't you give me a ring or send me an email, I'll help you.
Again, my job, one of my jobs as the leader of Amazon, is to encourage people to be bold. And people love to focus on things that aren't yet working. And that's good, it's human nature. That kind of divine discontent can be very helpful. But you really, it's incredibly hard to get people to take bold bets. And you need to encourage that. And if you're going to take bold bets, they're going to be experiments. And if they're experiments, you don't know ahead of time whether they're going to work. Yeah, it's the Alexa voice service. We exposed two different SDKs for Alexa. One is the Alexa voice service, which lets you embed through a set of APIs, embed Alexa in your own device or app and do with it what you want. So you can have if you make an alarm clock, you can embed Alexa voice service in it. And then we have the Alexa Skills Kit, which lets you teach Alexa new skills. Well, you don't choose your passions choose you. And I fell in love with space and rockets when I was a 5-year-old boy and watched Neil Armstrong step onto the surface of the moon. Mm-hmm. And I have been passionate about it ever since. And there's a very real sense in which Amazon, which is an amazing, fun, interesting company to have started and lead, is a lottery winning for me. And so I'm taking those lottery winnings and investing them in Blue Origin. I have been lecturing, we have all hands meetings at Amazon, and for 20 years, ever since we've been public, 21 years now, in 1997, at almost every all hands meeting, I said, look, when the stock is up 30% in a month, don't feel 30% smarter. Because when the stock is down 30% in a month, it's not going to feel so good to feel 30% dumber. And that's what happened. So much has changed. If you were to go back in time to the 60s and bring, the great engineers from that era to today, there are a lot of things that they would be astonished by. First and foremost amongst those is computation. You can choose a life of ease and comfort, or you can choose a life of service and adventure. Which one of those, when you're 90 years old, are you going to be more proud of? We did. We had a couple of those moments, especially we had about, 25 minutes on the ground with the crew capsule sealed, so it's just the four of us in there. And my brother and I, we picked seats so that we could see each other from our seats, so we could look over and we had some really good quality time there. Well, there's so much inspiring there. One of the great things to take away from that, one of the great Von Braun quotes is, I have come to use the word impossible with great caution. If I had the prescience to think about this topic at all 2 years before, that would have been better for perception reasons.
But in fact, we made this decision. It was the right decision. I'm proud of the decision we made. And it was far from cowardly because we knew there would be blowback and we did the right thing anyway.